Leland live on your radio this Tuesday afternoon. Leland again out for this holiday week. April Marie here with AJ trying to keep me out of trouble. Some days are better than others for his efforts. Some days I make it easier. Today I walked in with a stack. Actually, for the camera viewers with an actual stack of coffee. So that that means it's going to be a lit show, as the kids would say.
Oh gosh. So, yeah, wow.
My kids really love it when I try to speak tween.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
At least you use it in a somewhat of a
Somewhat
right
correct. Right?
context.
um, yeah, a lot. You know, okay, so we're in that weird holiday day, kind of what day is it? What time is it? I don't know. The sitter who's watching my kids so that I could come here, she was like, "Did your kids eat?" That's literally the text I just got as I opened up my computer just now. And I was like, "Have they ever eaten? Is that a question, or like did I feed them today, yesterday? What's the question?" Because the fact of the matter is they ate breakfast and then they had like a second breakfast. They had bagels at like 11. But they haven't had lunch yet. So I'm gonna wait till we go. It's 2 o'clock. So she's probably figured that out by between the drive here and if not, whatever. But that's where we are in life. The kids were like, I'm not really hungry, and yeah. What day is this? Where am I? Who am I with? All of the things. Uh, April Marie, like I said here, the I don't have access to the text line. So if you want to communicate with me, you can call, of course, and that number is 545-9950. You can find me on X, APRYLMARIE, which is the easiest, to be honest. Send me a message on X. And I am on Facebook. I had a couple people reach out to me there yesterday. I'm terrible at Facebook. I really am. And so not the best way to reach me. And I don't friend everybody. So if you sent me a friend request and I didn't accept it, don't take it personally. But I primarily use that to follow my friends and what they're doing. Speaking of which, AJ, do you want to know what I almost did on Facebook
Uh-oh.
between
What
yesterday
did you
and
do?
today? Okay, so my son has been asking for a puppy for a very long time. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you years now. We have had the pet discussion in my family. And we actually had a dog for a little while. I volunteered. I don't do it right now, but I used to volunteer for the Greater Birmingham Humane Society. And if you guys didn't know this, you know the idea of fostering children. You can foster animals that need to be fostered. And I, for a while, was fostering pregnant dogs, getting them through their having their litters, and until the litters could be weaned and then go off to different homes. And so I'd done this, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen times. And it was such a blessing for me and my kids just to be a part of this process. And we really got to love these animals and then watch them go to good homes. Twice it was breeder situations. It was stray dogs who got pregnant. And the last litter, we had one litter that was pretty traumatic. The mom dog passed away, and that kind of scarred me. And I took a break. And then the last time we fostered that dog, which was a pit bull mix, she just had too many puppies. Lost track, but she would birth all these puppies, and there's no way for her to nurse and feed them, and so several of those passed away, and so I stopped doing it. And so all my kids have been kind of without pet. So my son's been looking at different dog mixes, and I've always said if we're gonna get a dog, it's gonna be an adopted dog. Well, I'll be darned if we're sitting on the sofa yesterday, we're watching Full House, because if you guys didn't know this, old shows are 100 times better than new shows. Okay, 100 times better in terms of content. Just not none of the woke stuff, whatever. And it was the episode where they get their dog, they get Comet. And so, of course, sends my son back into a spiral. And I remember that on Facebook during the holidays, I saw a girlfriend of mine, actually someone I oddly only see at Halloween. That's a story for a different day. But a woman that I know, and she had rescued a dog that turned out to be pregnant, and it had puppies. So between 6 p.m. last night and then, I don't know, 10 a.m. today, I almost got myself a dog because they're little corgi puppies and she has one left and she sent me pictures of him and he's so sweet. And it took all I had. I was like, nope, I don't have time for that this week. And just truth be told, we know I'm not going to have time for that most weeks. And so the answer is no. But came dangerously close, AJ. You guys, dangerously close to getting a dog between yesterday's show and when I walked in the studio. And this is one of the hazards of social media. This is one of the hazards of Facebook. This dear sweet lady posted pictures of puppies. My son brings up corgi puppies. I immediately think of the photo I had seen and put two and two together, and I almost had a corgi puppy. So yeah, that good times. But do check out the Greater Birmingham Humane Society if you, and it's really cool if you do have a, like you want a pet, but you know you can't take on the full time responsibility of it. You want to try it out. I say try it out, like make sure your life is conducive to it. You can help them, and there's different reasons and different ways you get pets. They try to keep them together. They try not to do a foster to adopt because if you foster fail, if you bring a dog into your house and then you keep it, you stop fostering, and that's not the intention of the program. The intention of the program is to have these dogs socialized and get them out there, and keep them safe from parvo or whatever might be going on at the Humane Society. And so, really cool opportunity. But at any rate, we are in that time period, losing track of all days, all sense of time, all sense of everything. But what I do know is we've almost finished the year. And so today's show and tomorrow's show, more so tomorrow, I want to reflect on kind of what's happening. And I started that yesterday, ended up in a long discussion today about Trump and specifically what his accomplishments have been and what his accomplishments have been in this year. Because it's hard to believe it's only been a year. First off, I feel like looking back at this year of this administration, and I've said this before, he learned from that gap. He learned from that break. That first Trump term, he had insiders, he had different people in his ear. I feel like he was really getting a footing. DC, Montgomery, anywhere you end up, you have to get your footing and figure out that the lay of the land. He did that. Then he had that break of the horrible Biden administration where he got to see not only what Biden was doing wrong, but he got to reflect on what he did right and wrong that first term. And so the second term, we are just off to the races, man. And I love it. I love it. Some people are saying, "Oh, he's not doing enough with the immigration. He's not doing things fast enough." Well, this isn't like a speedboat, guys. This is a ginormous Titanic type boat that we've got here with the federal government and the process. And he's doing the best he can. I truly believe that. I truly believe that this administration, this Trump administration, is doing things the best they can. And a lot of it is, quite frankly, undoing what the Biden administration did because they got in there. They also had people who had been around for the Clinton administration, Biden administration, and the Obama administration. They get in there and they really caused chaos. You look at the border, they opened it up. Come on in. How do you think we ended up with all of these huge communities of immigrants like we're seeing in Minnesota? Is this open door policy? Come on over. We'll pay for everything. And so a lot of what Trump is doing is undoing things. And then what I see happening now and what I hope to happen in 2026 is the pivot to how do we make sure nobody else can do this? And I started talking about education. I feel like that's a really important place for us to talk today. And we're going to start today's conversation about that. Education. How do we, and you look at what the Federal Department of Education is doing now, and you can see a goal, an end goal, to take the power away, to give it back to the states. And how do we keep that moving forward? Well, A, is these midterm elections, incredibly important. And B, having people in the states realize that the federal government has just gotten ridiculous. I feel like the last major conversation that conservatives had regarding education up until we started talking about how woke they have, both K-12 and higher ed universities have been, was on Common Core. And then things got really quiet. And now then COVID hit and we are looking. So that's what I'm going to talk about starting today's program is the influence of teachers unions that it has on this country. What we're doing on a federal level as a nation to fix things, what's being done on the state level, what can be done. That's where we're going to start today's program. You guys hold tight. It's April Marie filling in for Leland. We're going to take a quick break and be back to jump on into that conversation. Look at you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland today and tomorrow. I like it, AJ. I like it. He's shaking his head. Okay, so do you know what I almost printed you on the 3D printer last night?
What's that?
Because I did get a little carried away. So you cracked a joke about could I print you headphones?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't, but there are headphone stands. There are a bunch of them actually. So when you get up to go on break or whatever, and there's one. So I'm gonna bring you in my phone and show you. There's tabletop ones. There's ones that clip on, so you can just clip your headphones when you walk away. I got to figure out how to. First, I got to figure out who I'm going to make it of. Maybe Leland, a bust of you can literally print out a bust, so you have someone's head and you put the headphones there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I take a picture of you and use your head. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of options.
Yeah, just if you're gonna just do that, just keep it simple. You ain't gotta do. I don't want to see my face.
I don't know.
Or have another man's face with my headphones on.
It's so fun. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go in today and see what he does with them. So,
right.
You're wearing them. You don't necessarily take them off and on unless you leave the room.
Right.
I'm gonna be making.
I kind of take them off like during the break, but I don't really have headphone stands to like put them anywhere.
Yeah. So that I was looking. I went down. For those who weren't listening yesterday, first off, shame on you. Shame. I'm just kidding. One of the things, probably the best gifts. Oh, and I forgot to get that phone number for the cabinet from you. I got to get that from you too. I walked in and I looked at the hole that is my cabinet and was like, I didn't get that number. But Santa Claus was good to us in our house, okay? First off, for those watching the YouTube live stream, and if you didn't know, there is a 99.5 YouTube live stream now. I'm not doing some Kim Kardashian flashing big diamonds over here, by the way. It's a simple diamond cross necklace, which I've really wanted, an everyday necklace. I was talking to Sean Sullivan down in Mobile earlier this morning, and he said, what constitutes an everyday necklace versus another kind of necklace? And I was like, well, I got necklaces for when I dress up, necklaces that are, more flashy or showy. I don't know how to describe it for so when you're wearing cocktail attire. These are conversations we're not getting from the guys, by the way. But then everyday necklace is one I don't have to worry about it. It just goes with everything. I dress it up, dress it down. Don't have to worry about changing it out. I've got some really elaborate things that I'll use if I'm going to address your event. But this is gonna be casual or business, whatever. But the major gift in the house was for my middle son, and it was a 3D printer. And we have been having a ball with it. Yesterday I brought in, and I think I took him out. Yesterday I brought in the little lizard I made, and then today I actually remembered to take him off of my car. I got a little carried away with the 3D printer. I'm not gonna lie. And so this is the where I have no sense of scale, and so I meant to do just a regular size rosary, and I printed ginormous rosary beads that I have now put in my car.
So like is it like plastic and then it just kind of forges it from the plastic into what you see right now before you?
It slices. It does what it calls slices, and then it puts it together. So like I didn't have to put this together. I just pulled this off the tray as one printed entity, and it's so neat.
Yeah.
And so I did this. I did the one I have in my hand before I figured out that how to edit the designs of the 3D printer. I say that again. There's a YouTube now, Real Talk 99.5 TV, and it has for in between the Hail Marys. It's got you usually use a different bead, and so I've got. Now I figured out how to do different colors. So anyway, I say all this. I'm so excited by this printer, and then I realized I really can print you something useful, AJ. So that's gonna happen. They take a little longer. The bigger things obviously take longer, but I'm on it. I've now commandeered this thing, and my son's like, I'm gonna print something that takes 20 minutes. Oh, I didn't bring it. I printed a little hedgehog last night.
Yeah, you went all kind of crazy. You was just like, is there something that thing cannot print?
I don't know. I haven't. It's one of those where I was like, okay, I told you it can print. I found a design for a little cup that to use in the kitchen. Found the rosaries. Found the rosary making tool, and then fidgets and toys that can make all that stuff. Obviously, anything you break off, you can break. Like any plastic piece you're missing. Probably could print an entire cabinet thing. It would just take a minute.
Mm-hmm.
It would take a minute. So anyway, I'm in love with this Christmas present. This has nothing to do with anything. But if you guys, if you
and I like how you say your Christmas present. It's not your Christmas present.
It is totally my son's Christmas present. I'll tell you what I did do. I ordered, and that was what I was making my little my little hedgehog friend last night. I ordered my own color because my favorite color in the world is the bright red. You know, the Republican red, cherry red, and so I ordered color that so that I can print all these things. So that's what I did. I printed a little bony fish fidget. It's a situation. Anyway, I started talking coming into the show on education. I'm going to be joined by Brian Dawson at 2:30, and we're going to talk about education in this country. It is something that is near and dear to my heart, not just because I have kids who are K-12 age, but also because I look around at the next generation, and I feel like every generation says this, like, oh, those young kids, those whippersnappers. Love that. But it feels like the next generation has lost something. One of the things I'm really intrigued by is this looking at our country and watching kids who don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to develop relationships in person. And so you're ending up with boys who don't know how to ask a girl out, or a girl who doesn't know how to behave in a relationship because her only education of this has been from television. And God knows that's awful. And so I look at our K-12, and one of the things that at the Department of Education they've started talking about is getting back to more of a classical education style and getting into, and what do we mean by classical teaching? The Department of Education actually had a blog post last month on classical education. It's an experience. It's not a theory or an ideology is how they explain it. And what we used to teach, the classics. I look these days at what's in a classroom, in a K-12 classroom. I wrote last month about the Scholastic Book Fair and the books that were being presented to these middle school kids. And they're not reading dense materials. First off, and it didn't even occur to me until I read this within the last couple of weeks, kids aren't reading whole books anymore. Teachers are assigning portions of books. Kids can't sit down with a book and read cover to cover because they don't have to in school anymore. At best, some schools are reporting that per grade, they're reading 1, maybe 2 books a year. I used to read 1 or 2 books every month. And I'm talking on my own as a kid. Just I loved it. I couldn't stop reading. Wouldn't put it down. That was before we had computers and at every room. We had people, my kids sitting around playing with their 3D printer for hours. But we are really missing something. We're missing something in the way that the books are written, all these graphic novels. And I'm guilty of that myself. My son loved like the Dog Man and the Cat Man books and the series that are graphic novels. But when is the last time they sat down? One thing about homeschooling is my daughter has done that. She read Little Woman. She read The Giver. She read Shakespeare. I think it was Hamlet she read last year. But we're missing that in public education right now. We're missing that, and even a lot of private schools. Honestly, I was looking at different schools to put my daughter into before we decided to homeschool her, and I feel like we've lost way. We've lost our way, and so I'm going to go back to this Department of Education. One such experience is, but with just what's on the shelves in classrooms, the classics. And how we don't have that anymore, and that the teachers are pushing ideologies and not basics and fundamentals. And the results of that is devastating. It's truly devastating on communities, truly devastating in homes. And we're going to talk to Brian Dawson a little bit about some of the work we've done at 1819 and why he's so passionate about it, why we've been so passionate about it. You guys hold tight. More coming with April Marie filling in for Leland. Good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. AJ, with some Christmas miracles happening over here.
Hey, look. I looked up and it saw what you were doing. I was like, okay, yeah, she's not ready yet.
I got a cheese and fruit tray over here and took an apple at just the wrong moment.
Yeah.
Good times. I was like, and I get more concerned. It's like not even do I have to worry about my mic being hot now. Now I have to worry about the camera being on.
Yeah.
As I look like a horse.
Well, I mean, look, you're not be the only host or guest host that's been on here smacking all over the microphone.
I know better. There's no excuse for me. I've got years of experience.
Yeah, but you also it's lunchtime for some, late lunchtime for some.
True.
You know, like I just had my veggie wrap.
AJ has been getting lunch like right as I come in both 2 days now.
Yeah.
And he is so much healthier than I am. Yesterday, he's over here celebrating his juicer while I'm over here.
I'm excited about that thing, man. I made juice for my family this morning.
That's awesome. And the kids
juicing everything.
The kids like it. Nice. All right. We've got, I was saying, we're as we talk about education, one person I know who's as passionate as I am about what we have to do to protect our kids is Brian Dawson. I'm going to bring Brian on. Brian is the CEO of 1819, so my boss, but also just an incredibly cool guy. Brian, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Man, I'm honored. I'm just a cool guy.
A cool guy.
Those kind of compliments, I'm blushing under my beard right now, April Marie.
Well, I started kind of the show. One of the things, we're in the last 3 days of the year. You know this from your own podcast. It's kind of a year-end wrap-up, reflect back, look at what's ahead. And I'm talking about a lot of Trump's success and a lot of what Trump is doing that I'm thrilled about. And one of the things that's not getting a lot of attention has been, and the media's covered it from the standpoint of, they're going after these colleges that have, still have DEI or have these woke ideological agendas. But we're seeing it in K-12 too. We're seeing it pretty much across the board. And I don't think people realize, and you've talked about this a lot, the way that liberal woke creep is ruining society from the classrooms.
Yeah. It's so much bigger than a woke creep. The woke creep is what we're noticing because it's a plan that's been enacted since 1917 in the Bolshevik Revolution. And I'm not going to go all the way into history, but suffice it to say, there was an intentional plan put together by progressives, Bolsheviks, communists, Marxists, whatever you want to call them, people with the woke mind virus, whatever label that you want to use, to take over the West, Western civilization. And they created a plan, a 100-year plan called the Long March Through the Institutions. And they wanted to get rid of the Christian ethos in the West. They knew that they wouldn't be able to kind of do their communist overtaking. They couldn't bring communism west by tank, planes, and traditional warfare. And so they came up with an idea to hijack the culture-shaping institutions, specifically in the United States of America, to bring communism in slowly and culturally. And the key institutions that they went after was churches and seminaries, education, K through 12 and universities. It actually started at Columbia University, was the beginning of the Long March to the Institutions, happened at Columbia Universities in the 30s. So it's churches and seminaries, universities, K through 12 education, media, which would include news and also entertainment, and then the legal system. You would get civil rights or maybe some of these other things that where they've gotten into our legal system and codified certain things that maybe were good at the time but are now doing more damage than they are good. And then obviously the destruction of the family. And so they had this 100-year plan that they're going to go and do these things. And I think on the right, we think we're going to vote our way out of this. We're like, man, if we just get our guy elected, we just got to get our guy elected. It's like, we got to get our guy elected, no doubt. That's very important.
But it goes so much
deeper. If we don't get to work reclaiming these institutions, fixing our universities, fixing our K through 12 education, fixing our churches, right? Getting back to traditional family values. If we don't do that, Trump can't do that for us. All he can do is hold the line and raise up a standard and give us cover while we do that work for 4 years. And I think that's the biggest thing he's done is he's saying, hey, now's the time. Go fix all this stuff, and I've got your back. Used to would have been you try and do this stuff, you'd find yourself under a lawsuit or the Department of Justice after you or whatever. He's giving us cover. Now we've got 4 years to move the ball down the field as far as we possibly can back to normalcy and back to reality, right? And so, but you really think about what's at stake in public schools and in universities, it's so much more egregious when you really just take the time to think about this is the hearts, minds, and souls of the most precious thing in a civilization, and that's our children and our youth and the next generation. And that is what is being hijacked, and we're allowing it to happen.
And we're seeing the fruits of that already. We're seeing what has happened. And it doesn't, I think when I was in college, and I went to college in 99, took an extra year, graduated in 2004, there was a little bit of liberal rot. You could tell I had some professors that were left leaning, even in Tallahassee, Florida. But it seems like it is the majority now, and we've seen that when people go in and analyze, Republicans versus Democrats and Christians versus non-Christians on these college campuses. And K-12, just where the hearts of these teachers are, over the last 10 years, you've got an entire generation now, and generation that is denying a lot of what is reality and a lot of what is right and wrong.
Yeah, and again, I think the last time I came on when you were filling in, said, look, this isn't the difference between like 20% taxes and 30% taxes with a few more social, welfare programs or something, which is what we were arguing 30 years ago. Now it's literally like, if a kid thinks that, like a boy thinks that he might be a girl, we're just going to go ahead and remove his genitals and pump him full of cross-sex hormones. Like, that's what's being debated.
And that's insane. It's pure insanity. Yeah. And if I were to go to, just about anybody over the age of 60, one of the things I love about the Daily Wire, What is a Woman, those types of movies, everybody knows this is asinine. And even on the left, there are people who realize this is absolutely insane, but they're afraid to speak out against it. In the last couple of days, I've seen a lot of people who talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center, their hate watch list. They will not say what we know to be true. There are girls, boys are boys. Indoctrination and brainwashing and poisoning is happening because they're afraid they're going to be called names. And it is a battle. It's a true battle over truth and what's right and all of those things.
I'm just trying to figure out what I got to do to get on that SPLC hate list. I mean, I've been trying for 4 years. And it's like, well, what does a man have to do to get on this SPLC watch list?
What's funny is I used to joke that all the time when I had a radio show in Montgomery. I was like, I am broadcasting from, a couple miles away and saying all the things you hate. Although technically I'm a Moms for Liberty member, so I'm in there. And now I've contributed to Turning Point USA, so I'm on there. I get all of it but my name. But it really is surprising.
I want a plaque.
What a word. Brian, the fact that 1819 hasn't gotten on there somehow. At this point, I think they're just trolling us by not putting us on.
I really think so. AL.com does the same thing. They used to comment about our reporting, and then all of their people were like, oh, look, another news site. And they just started losing readers to us, and now they just pretend like we don't exist. And they won't be able to do that for long.
No.
We'll say something that they just won't be able to help. Like, I remember the last thing that they really reported on, I brought up the whole book. So you start talking about libraries and the books that children read, which is a form of curriculum, which is all still part of this long march to the institutions. Our libraries, our public libraries are part of it. And they're putting not just pornography in the children's section, but full-on grooming literature. And I was at this forum in Prattville with a group that was fighting back, and they featured me as one of their speakers or whatever. And I said, why don't we burn the freaking books? And there was, some liberal that was part of the whatever, and they thought they thought it was like a gotcha. They thought they had me, and then they did this huge write-up, burn the freaking books. CEO Brian Dawson says burn the freaking books. I'm like, I did say that, and I'm so happy that you're broadcasting that message. I think this is incredible. And then J.D. Crowe even did a cartoon, and it was a whole thing. And once they realized that we were celebrating and gloating on that, there hasn't been a lot of reporting on 1819 News from AL.com, which is, You can only get so much free press from these people.
My joke with this is, and I hear it all the time. Oh, they want to ban books, and I'm like, do you not like everybody who talks about us banning books because we don't want it in a classroom, we don't want it as part of the curriculum, we don't want it in the public library kids section. Like, I want to throw a dictionary at them. I think there should be, you know how there should be consequences instead of public stoning. I want to bring people into the public square and throw a dictionary at them and say, you don't know what these words mean anymore. You don't know what a book banning is. You don't know what a racist is. You don't know what a bigot is. Heck, half of them don't know what a girl, a woman, or a man is. And okay, we'll not stone them. We'll go throw a dictionary or two at them because, for the love, you're taking things and changing the meaning and then trying to brainwash us into thinking we're wrong. And it's kind of ridiculous. Okay, I want to get into, and I started talking because I was talking about some of the things the Department of Education is doing, the federal Department of Education. And one of the things that has gone under the radar is the dismantling of Department of Education and sending it back to the state. Well, here at the state level, we're still contending with the teachers union, and we're still contending with people who want to rot the education system from within, which is why I say homeschool your kids, guys. It's the best thing I ever did. But I want to talk about K-12 and what's going on in those classrooms and what Trump's doing and all of that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. Brian Dawson from 1819 News on the line. We're going to talk K-12 in just a minute. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. AJ, trying to keep me out of trouble. We've got Brian Dawson on the line. We've been talking a little bit. He gave us a little bit of history on the timeline of this capturing of our schools' education and some of the biggest other Americans institutions. Brian, we have written about, and I really don't believe, I feel like I could talk about it for 3 hours straight and still 4 hours straight and still not give it all the attention it deserves. The influence that the NEA has on education and the absolute rot of their agenda that's right here in Alabama through the AEA.
Yeah. No, it is. They were crystal clear about who they were and what they were doing back when Alabama was under complete Democrat rule in all, governor, House, Senate. When we were a Democrat supermajority, the AEA ran the state under Paul Hubbard. It was crystal clear what their intentions were. It was not good. It was a full-blown communist Marxist organization, just like the National Education Association. Well, when everything got switched over to Republican, and there was a thing where basically Governor Riley made it to where the AEA dues members had to actually cut a check to pay their dues rather than it getting auto-drafted out of the checks. They lost a lot of money and they lost a lot of power, and they're obviously not Republican, conservative organization, and it seemed like they were dead. And in 2014, there was a huge effort to rebrand the AEA as a conservative Christian organization. Okay,
which is
and they said,
crazy.
Well, all the teachers in the state of Alabama are they're all Republicans, so it just makes sense that the teachers union would be a conservative Christian organization. And so they spent all this money, they paid off all these legislators, which is against the rules, by the way. The ALGOP, Alabama Republican Party, has bylaws stating that they're not supposed to take money from the NEA or its state level affiliate, which would be the AEA. But they had this pretty girl going around handing out $25,000 and $50,000 checks to all these legislators, giving them talking points of why it was actually okay. And they ended up having tremendous influence now inside the Republican Party, and they were able to keep school choice away for over a decade, all this other stuff. They have massive influence despite being a Marxist organization, because they rebranded themselves as a conservative organization despite their obvious attachment to the National Education Association, which is a communist Marxist organization. They're still doing their bidding here in the state, and we saw evidence of that in the Mobile mayoral race. You had Spiro Chirigotis versus Barbara Drummond, and you have basically a real kind of plain Jane Republican, not a right-winger at all, running for mayor versus Barbara Drummond, who's a full-on like Black Lives Matter communist, okay? And they gave her $100,000 instead of him. And that tells you this is what they want. Yep. They want the communism. That's where their money goes when the opportunity to pounce on that presents itself. That's where their money goes. That's where their influence goes. And their conservative Christian mask slipped a little bit. And that's good, because now everyone can realize that this is a giant sham that they're running to pretend to be this conservative organization so that they can have sway in the Republican Party. Because if you don't have sway in the Republican Party in the state of Alabama, you don't have sway at all, because we're a Republican supermajority. And so that is what they've done, and they continue to hinder any efforts to improve the education system whatsoever. And that's the reason that we continue to trail and get our tails kicked in the rankings across the country.
Well, and they do say one thing publicly, do another thing privately. We have seen that even as recently as with the school choice bill. We heard their spokesman just a couple of months ago be like, the AEA allowed school choice to pass, which shows what they really think. They think they're still in control. And the fact of the matter is, as long as Republican lawmakers are taking their money, they might still be. And so the only way to fight that is to fight fire with fire and say, we are not going to allow you to take their money. Therefore, we will not allow them to have influence. And I don't care what excuse they're using for their affiliation with the NEA. You cannot look at the NEA website. You cannot look at the teachers' materials, the training they provide, their main spokesman, any event they hold, and say they're anything except the complete opposite of the values that most families in Alabama have, and against the interest, first and foremost, of students. They can talk however they want to, but when it's literally just down to brass tacks, what they have done in the past, decades has put our education system in this, United States of America, specifically in Alabama, it has put us behind. Our young people are behind other nations because the teachers' unions wanted what they wanted, not what they wanted what's best for the students themselves.
Amen.
It aggravates me.
To me, after that, Barbara, it was already in my mind. If a Republican legislator takes money from the Alabama Education Association, that should be poison and they should never be able to be elected again. And then post that Barbara Drummond $100,000 donation, now it's more crystal clear than ever of who they are and what they're doing. They can, like you said, they can say one thing in private and then do one thing publicly. Well, they did that publicly.
Yeah, they did.
And now everyone, if you should be holding your legislators accountable. If they're taking money from this organization, you say, what are you doing?
Are you lying or are you
the hearts,
stupid?
minds, and souls. Yeah. Hearts, minds, and souls of future generations that you're allowing this organization to continue doing what they've always done, which is not only hindering any growth in the education system to where we can actually see some progress, but it's worse than that. It's bringing in indoctrination and everything else that's wicked.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely ridiculous that lawmakers in Alabama are continuing to take this money. It is mind-boggling to me that the Republican Party of Alabama has not been able to stop this. They were able to stop current day, present day superintendents from taking money, but they have not been able to stop it from the state house. And that is the lure of the money, right? Like they want that. The incumbents want that money fundraising advantage. And it does need to be a poison pill. It needs to be either you're for the students and you're for school choice, you're for parental rights, you're for all the things that are going to make our students healthy, make them ready for the workforce, all of those things. Or you're for this group that has shown repeatedly, and like you said in the Mobile race and their affiliation with the NEA, shown that they're opposite of what we need and we want. And lawmakers need to have this needs to be fixed.
Yeah, and the word that you used it is the meta narrative of the whole thing is parental rights. There's a group of people who think that children belong to the state. There's a group of people who understand that children's the discipleship, the education, the formation of children, that responsibility belongs to the parents, and they're essentially subcontracting that responsibility out to the state in partnership to develop their children. That is not the idea of the NEA and the AEA.
Absolutely.
They believe that your children belong to them, and they're going to form them, and they're going to give them a worldview and ideas and knowledge and education and curriculum that completely contradicts the values of your household.
All right.
I do that all the time.
Okay, we're going to hold tight on the line, and we'll come back and close out in the next segment. You guys are listening to Leland Live with April Marie. Brian Dawson on the line.